Welcome to the podcast from Stress to Success Blueprint. I'm your host, Lolita Guarin, and today is episode 171. And we are continuing the conversation about how stressful it can get if you want to have a change in your life. There are plenty of things that you need to change or you can change in order to see a new environment, and new things happening in your life, and just being in a different place. Because if you're not going to change anything and you're going to continue doing the same things over and over, it's called insanity. Because you cannot expect different results if you continue doing the same action steps. So, today specifically, I want to talk about not being afraid to learn something new. Um, Definitely, that is very important to learn something new because no change can happen if you are not learning something new. Well, probably if you want to change your life by drinking more water, maybe you don't need to learn that, but there are plenty of things that we need to learn, especially if we want to advance our career or have better relationships with people, or even better relationship with yourself, and even learning about your body and how much of water do you need to drink. So that can take a lot of time, a lot of energy, money even. But of course, a lot of change you can implement and doesn't have to cost you anything. I say stress management should not be stressful. It's like, yeah, okay, well, alrighty, we got this. So how is that can be, why we need to talk about this? Apart from overall us feeling resentment maybe a little bit towards stress and change and all of that, it is because for few reasons, I believe, like any other habit that we learn about stress management or overall life, it has to do also how are we going to look at something learning new. So let's say in your family, learning new is not such a thing that is very celebrated. If you grew up in environment where, let's say, nobody were reading books, they were not really into learning anything new. They thought that they had the best thing. What they say after the sliced bread, something like that. I like that saying. And if let's say the authorities in your life, they were always right, even if you provide them with evidence that they're not right, but they're still right, they don't need to learn anything. They don't need to go to school. They don't need to take any classes. Definitely, they don't even need to maybe even read books. They definitely not gonna hear your opinion, and they will not even want to hear anybody's opinion for that matter, because they are the best there is. In that kind of environment, somebody can grow up of really learning the same attitude, because if you will have a different way you approach things, you will be different. Hence, you may be excluded from the group. And in order for you to survive, you want to be loyal to that group. So ask yourself, it's like, okay, well, how open am I to new things? And it's easy to really ask yourself this question and realize where you are and do this kind of check-in with yourself. Is let's say somebody gives you a tip about cooking, and they tell you how you need to cook your eggs, and how is that you react? Do you immediately go into resentment and you're like, don't tell me what I need to do, I'm like the best in town and I know how to scramble my egg, who are you to tell me this thing? um or you listening and you're like, really, I had no idea, what would I do, how can I better perform? um are you curious? What is the majority of, let's say, now we have so much of social media, and like, oh, what books do you read? You can listen a bunch of stuff while you're driving or while you're washing dishes, and pay attention and look, what is this that you spending your time on? What is that? I had a client and asked, what is the majority of time you spend that has to do with learning new things, right? What is it? And and she said, oh, I absolutely love books. And when I asked what was the last time she read a book, she said, no, no, I really don't read books, I listen to them. And I said, okay, when was the last time that you listened to a book or completed a book? Um, and she couldn't recall. And I'm like, okay, so what is the majority you listen to? And she said she listened to a bunch of podcasts. So if you are that kind of person that listening and getting information, and that's like learning something new, is really about how welcoming it is for you the new information is. Because if you are listening to something that's purely entertaining, and that's awesome, that's great stress relief, but it's not really helping you to learn anything, and you probably will move nowhere, because it's not really teaching you anything or not inspiring you to move forward and take some action steps that actually will help you to be in a different place. So that's just wasting time. What is that you do with that? Well, you identify, you can write it down, all of this. And by the way, my stress management journal for adult children alcoholics is live on Amazon. The link in the description below. And if you haven't heard of it, I published a book last year, where I'm touching on 25 things, why it can be stressful in life for those who grew up in dysfunctional family, and how to heal that, and how to learn to manage that stress. And if you are not coming from a family that have an addiction problems, it's pretty much good for all dysfunctional families. And there's very rare to find a functional one. So we all have some sort of something, and not necessarily parents that need to be an addict. They can be like emotional available, it could be narcissist, and all kinds of things. Basically, if you grew up in an environment that you didn't get what you really needed, and you maybe now have those unhealthy habits that not helping you to manage stress properly, you will just stressed out burnout individual. So that journal is really asking you questions every single day. And when you write those things down, then you can go back and really see those patterns. So I used to coach, and I will say that, my client needs to start a new journal. Now I am, I can, there you go. There's a whole book. It's actually something very tangible. You can write in it, and there's also a test, really see, and there's some bunch of other things. So the link in the description below. And this book, this journal is not necessarily for adults and alcoholics. Like those questions really are good for everything. I may even publish another one that's very generic, so people don't think like, oh, well, this is not for me kind of thing. Because if you're not going to pay attention, you will not record it, and then it will be very difficult for you to know and identify what kind of patterns that you need to work on. Um, so yeah, I think I talk way too much for a 10 minutes episode, right? They're all supposed to be under 10 minutes. Um, Now, if you kind of listening to this point, thank you so much. And I want to ask you, is your family that you grew up with, that environment, were they inclined for learning? And maybe, you're not? Or maybe they were not really liking anyone to learn anything, but you grew up into this adult that you really like learning, and you into listening all kinds of things, and reading all kinds of things, and you enjoy this. So I would like to hear, how did you work with yourself when it had to do with breaking this loyalty, that now you're very different, in that area of your life. And was it difficult for you to realize that you want to do something different than you've been taught? But there was just natural transition because you had a great boundaries and a great sense of who you truly are. So thank you so much for watching in. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you have not already. Thank you so much for those that already did it. And we have a few more episodes left about how to manage stress that has to do with changing things in your life. And if you have any topics, let me know. I'll be very happy to start a new series. And I don't know right now, this moment, what I will talk next, but we definitely find out soon.